Today we are going to experiment with the different layer modes that are possible in Procreate, as well as working with actual typed out text and typography. So for this assignment, we're going to go into our gallery and do a new canvas. This time we're going to select on screen size. So that should be the top option for you. If not, you can just pick any of the ones that we've been working on before, like the 8.5 by 11, but if it looks like this, you can just turn it sideways. I just clicked on screen size. It's a little bit smaller and all we really need for today. So first thing that we're going to do is we are going to add in a background. So I would like a picture background. As usual, you're going to go into your actions tool, hit on add, and then insert a photo. Today you want something nice and big that creates a nice kind of backdrop for you. So I will choose this right here. So adjust it to fully fit your screen if it doesn't. And we're going to rename that. So this is going to be the background. On top of this, we're going to do several bars. So to create a bar, we are going to use our select tool, and instead of freehand, we're going to click on rectangle. Make sure add is chosen, and I'm going to just hold down and create a nice bar. I'll choose a color I like and hit color fill, or I can just drag that color and drop it in. And that should work for us as long as we're on that new layer. Next, I'm going to duplicate this so there's a total of at least 5 bars. You can definitely do more if you want to. I believe we can fit about 6 onto here at least, but like I said, we only need 5. So I'm going to go into my layers and I can duplicate that. I don't really need to name it right now. I can name it later. So I will duplicate continuously onwards until there are 5 of them. So that was pretty easy. Next, I want to add text on top of my first bar that I have, and then we'll move and play around with the bars afterwards. So to add text to your projects, you're going to hit up at the top in actions, add, and then there's insert a file, insert a photo like we've been doing, take a photo, or add text. So you're going to click on add text. Automatically it will give you the color that you're already selected on. So pick a color that you like first for today's project. I think white is going to look the best. So I've selected white and my keyboard is here. You are going to type in your name. For me, I'm going to just say that I'm Miss M. And there you go. You can see that there's a slight blue box around here with the blue dots. So if you want to make this longer, you just drag those dots over and that increases your text box length. I'm going to move this so that it fits in my actual bar that I've made. And on my keyboard, you can see that I can type whatever I want to on here. At the top, there are this like little button at the top right that has a capital A and a lowercase a. So I'm going to click on that. And it will take me to this menu. So first, I can pick the font that I want. You see that as I click on it, nothing is changing because as I type, I can choose multiple fonts. So I have to select my text. So I'm going to click on my text. You see it has a blue outline if it's all selected. If I just select where it says Miss M and then I change the font, you can see only that is changing. So I'm going to select the whole thing. You can choose 2 different fonts if you want to. but I'll pick something that looks kind of cute to me. Just kind of scroll around until you find something that feels right. You can choose the style of it. So there's font, there's style. For design, you have a lot of different options. So there's the size that you can control. There is kerning, if you remember, is the individual kind of space between letters. There is tracking, which is the overall space between letters. Leading, which only comes into play if we have multiple lines of text. So right now I don't. If I add a space and go back into that menu, the leading will increase the amount of space between your different texts. So you can see that that's being changed up. Again, I don't need any leading because I just want one singular line today. There's the baseline, which is kind of like the height of it. And then the opacity, which we've already dealt with before. So fix that until it looks good. One of the other things you can do before you check on all of the design qualities is go into your attributes and decide where you would like it to start. So if I'd like it to start all the way on the left versus if I'd like it to be centered in the middle, choose that. I'm going to have it start on the left side. You can underline. You can make it so your font is outlined. You can switch to a vertical writing instead. Oh no, there we go. Have to drag that back. And then the last one is if you want all of them to be capitalized, you can hold on that or turn that last option on, and that will capitalize everything for you. Sometimes when you turn that on versus off, it'll change what you initially had, so might have to go back in there and fix that if it gets edited. So those are the options that you have in your text. Again, if you just select a certain part of this and change that aspect, it will only change the aspect that you have highlighted. So play around until you have a good set of text that feels right to you and looks very nice. Once you're done, you can hit on your layers and you'll see a layer that has an A on it. So instead of a preview, and its title will be whatever you typed in there. If you click on that layer, there are the same kind of options on that side menu. So you can rename, select, copy, mask, clipping mask. You can go back and you can edit the text. So if you notice that there's a spelling error, you can go hit on edit text and it'll take you back to your keyboard. And you can still go in here and decide what font you want, and you can still change all of that if you would like to. So to me this looks good, so I can hit done. Again, if I click on this, there is something called rasterize, which turns this into an image instead of a text file. So if I rasterize this layer, it will open up the full menu for me, but I can no longer edit the text. So if you see, it doesn't say that this is a text layer anymore. I can't go back and type. So be careful that you don't choose that option if you want to be able to go back. I'm going to undo that rasterize, and you can see that A is back on there, and this is once again a text layer. If I notice that my font isn't quite where I want it to be, I can go in with my transform tool, and there's a certain amount of stuff that I can do while it's still a text layer. So I can decrease the size, I can increase the size, I can distort it, and it should still let me edit that a little bit, but once you've distorted something too much, it no longer registers it as a text layer, it's now just an image to it. So now I can't go back in there. All right. I think that's everything that you need to know about text. So we can move on to the layer modes. So our first layer, we're going to rename, and that's just going to be our normal layer. So that one's pretty easy. Normal for us today, if I click on the little N on that layer, that's what it's already set to. That's what most layers are set to initially. So I want the top bar to just, be solid and filled in and have nothing really going on with it. But my subsequent bars, I'm going to change up. So I'm going to go into the next one and I'm going to drag this down. Today I have my snapping turned on with magnetics and snapping, so you'll see if I just kind of drag down this layer, there should be a line there that tells me that they're, still lined up. And I'll just drag that a little bit downwards. I'm going to space out all of them about evenly. So I'm going to grab the next one. Again, just drag it down. I'm going to eyeball if it's spaced out. Next layer, bring that down. And then my last layer, and just drag that down. So now I have all these different bars on top of my background. I'm going to mess around with the actual layer modes now. So on layer 2, I'm going to click on the little N, and let's make this a little smaller so I can see the whole thing. And so when you click on the N, you have the opacity bar, which we've been dealing with, but you also have this entire menu of different layer modes that you can pick. So today I'm going to have us pick 4 different modes that you think look nice, and they can be any 4 from this list. So my first one, I'm going to do a linear burn. Again, you can choose whatever you like. But once I have it, you can see that the little N now says LB. That tells me what the layer mode is. It's in linear burn. So I'm going to rename this to match that. I'll move on to my next one. Pick another thing that looks cool to me. I really like this overlay. Third one, you can still play around with the opacity if you'd want to. So if I like this screen, but I'd like it to be a little bit more subtle, I can take the opacity down. Or if I take it all the way up, you can see what they look like kind of initially. This is a hue layer, and then my last one. It's unfortunate how cool so many of them look. Let's pick something on the lighter side. I'll choose add. And I'll lower the opacity just a little for fun. Okay. Now that I have all of my layers look nice and they all have different modes on them, I'm just going to label them on my image as well. So I'm going to go add a new layer up at the top, and this is going to be my labels. You can decide if you would like to type them out or if you would like to just handwrite them. For today, I can handwrite them. So my first layer is just normal. That's fine. If I want to, I can move the labels under. It doesn't really matter where they are, but having my other layers in that order is going to help me the most. So I'm going to go into my labels. Again, I'm just going to pick a white font and pick a brush that's easy for me to write in. My first layer under the normal one is linear burn. Then I have overlay, hue, and add. So don't know if I'll be able to remember that, but I'm going to go in and I am going to label all of these. So my first one was linear burn. My next one was overlay. Third, I had hue. And last, I had add. Oops. All right. So play around with those all that you want to. Choose stuff that looks cool for you. And then when you are done, you are going to take a screenshot of this. Again, just double checking that your layers are in the right order and that they match what you see in your layers. So screenshot that and you should be good to go.